Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Celtics Roundtable here on the Boston Celtics news feed. We are powered by CLNS Media. My name is Matt Ignall. I am, of course, joined by Jonathan Levy here, and we are going to do this podcast that we've been sitting on for quite a while. It's reevaluating the Celtics offseason, so we're going to get right into it here. First major thing that the Celtics did shocked everybody. They traded away their right to the number 1 draft pick to move down to 3, a trade with the Philadelphia 76ers, and then the Celtics selected Jason Tatum with Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball off the board. It was kind of surprising around the time that most of the national media kind of ripped the deal a little bit. I think most of the media thought that Markelle Fultz was probably a tier above Jason Tatum. Things are looking pretty good with this one. What are your thoughts on this move, Jonathan Levy?
Well, first of all, things are looking amazing with this one. Tatum is near the best case scenario outcome so far anyway in his career, I would say. His big weakness was three-point shooting. He's leading the league in three-point shooting. I was thinking about this just today, actually. If we knew Tatum was going to be this good a three-point shooter, where would he have gone in this draft? Would he have gone number 1 overall? I think there's a reasonable chance he would have, and certainly possibly top 2. That said, it's easy to declare victory right now before we've seen Markelle Fultz play healthy. And I see a lot of Celtics fans and Celtics media, by the way, and even NBA media doing this as if we've seen Fultz and we know about Fultz. Weird stuff is going on in Philadelphia, for sure. I don't understand why they played him and then claimed he was injured. They claimed he caused the injury himself. And now they said, oh, it'll be 3 weeks. And then they said, now he's completely paying free. So it's going to be another 3 weeks before we know anything. Really strange stuff is happening in Philly with that. But Markelle Fultz was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. We have not seen him play healthy at all yet. We don't know what he is. He may still be by far the best player in this draft. But right now, holy moly, it's sure looking like another big W for Danny Ainge because Jason Tatum so far is the best player in this draft. I know Donovan Mitchell's playing well, but come on, people. Jason Tatum is an important player on one of the best teams in basketball. I think he's already a league average starting small forward with unbelievable potential at 19 years old. Oh, man. What do you think, Matt? You agree with any of this or you disagree?
I think you can call this one pretty confidently. I mean, it looks like an A-plus trade right now. I mean, Markelle Fultz could light up the world and, be the future MVP that many people thought he would be, but that's looking pretty unlikely right now. Remember, the Celtics got the Lakers pick, probably unlikely to convey, maybe like 30-40% chance, depending on how you feel about the Lakers. And that if not, then it rolls over into the Kings pick. Probably a weaker draft, but the Kings will never get it together, it seems.
That's right.
So much to think about this one. Like you talked about Jason Tatum shooting, where would he have gone? I think that we didn't have the same information probably that was being fed to the front offices. Tatum worked out for Philly before he worked out for the Celtics, and from what we heard from the Colangelos was that he killed the workout. We saw videos of him changing his shot form and drilling 3 after 3 after 3. I'm sure Drew Hanlon was in contact with Danny Ainge and was saying, hey, this guy is making the transition to the three-point line completely smoothly. Like pretty much better than anyone expected. So, I imagine that when Markelle Fultz came to town and pretty much bricked every shot, I'm assuming, in his Celtics workout, I feel like, and maybe like didn't ace the interview process, that Danny Ainge felt really comfortable with, Jason Tatum, even though they hadn't brought him in for a workout just yet, but based on the information that was being fed to him, particularly about his shooting, that he was going to slide right into the Celtics system because he just seemed like such a great fit. Like Markelle Fultz, would have been hard to, pair him with Isaiah or Kyrie Irving. Jason Tatum, had a role pretty much ready-made for him, especially after Jay Crowder got dealt. But he was going to get a chance to play pretty much big minutes anyway. I think Markelle Fultz, again, he could be, a player that lots of people expected, but, he had a split where he was really good from the three-point line in his lone season in Washington. He was really good from, the long two, but he wasn't good from the free throw line. And maybe there are reasons to be bullish, but I think right now we have to assume that his shooting was not as good as we thought. Another thing to consider here, and I know I'm going on for a while here, is not only did the Celtics perhaps get the best player in the draft at number 3 and get a major asset, they also really hurt Philly, who may be setting up a super team anyway. But imagine if, Tatum would have probably been a really good fit alongside, to slide along in the front court with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They might have taken him at the 3 spot.
Hard to know.
And, maybe they then should have dealt like the Lakers pick for a guy like Kyrie Irving. I mean, how crazy would that team have been?
Gosh.
So, the Sixers are coming, and they certainly did the Celtics a favor, and they certainly did not do themselves a favor trading out and perhaps selecting a worse player and losing that Lakers-Kings pick.
I mean, it's an incredible thing for Ainge to not only have hurt Philly, like you're saying, but to potentially have Marvin Bagley. He may get Bagley or Doncic or Ayton or someone like that in next year's draft. The Lakers are getting worse. They've played one of the easiest schedules in the league so far. It's about to get a lot tougher. The Brooklyn Nets are looking, by the way, really good, so they're probably not going to be in the top 5. And things are really going Danny Ainge's way right now. I was even thinking about, which would you rather have? Would you rather Philly side of the LA Kings pick or the Celtics side? Philly has the higher upside with the number 1 picks, but Celtics getting from 2 to 5 in this draft is so good, and any other pick besides the number 1 for the Kings would also be extraordinary.
It's an interesting question. Wow. Yeah, I'd probably rather have the Celtics side. I think I'd lean
so.
that way. It's real close though.
Yeah.
Something else here is that I think a lot of people thought that maybe the Celtics really could have gotten more if they waited to the deadline and really squeezed Philly, but perhaps they didn't want to risk it. Maybe they just felt so good about Jason Tatum. Also, perhaps that what was I going to say? Oh, I lost it.
It's okay. I got something to say about that.
Okay.
I mean, it is an interesting thing for Ainge. Like, looking back, we see he got so much because it feels like Tatum is like, and Danny Ainge said he would have taken Tatum number 1. He was saying that at the time. He said it. Mm-hmm. He continues to say it. It feels like it's true. He bet on that by trading down. And it's possible if he had not made the deal when he did, Philly might have seen that Tatum was going to go number 1, really believed that they were going to get one of Ball or Fultz anyway and not moved up or given less. So I think this is fine. At the time, I was a little disappointed and wanted a bit more. I wanted those picks to be not number 1 protected, basically. Yeah. Everything's the same without that number 1 protection on top, the number 1 overall pick. It would have been an amazing deal. Still, though, Tatum being this good, Ainge is, is he the best GM in the business? It's possible he's number 1. If he isn't, he's certainly top 3 or 4.
Yeah, a couple other things to note. That Brian Colangelo apparently had been talking with Mike Zarin, he said, about this Lakers pick for about a year and a half. So, it's probably not like this came up overnight. So, the idea that the Celtics maybe could have squeezed a little bit more out of Philly, they've been having this conversation for a while. That probably was as far as it was going to go. With regard to Tatum, I think we could talk a little bit, how much of this is luck, how much of this is really good scouting. We know Brad Stevens felt really good about Tatum. We know Tatum was a really good fit. Brad Stevens mentioned, even though Tatum had a solid defensive season at Duke, Brad Stevens pointed to, with his length, his ability or his potential to defend. Jason Tatum, great personality. We heard that all throughout, the draft process, throughout his tenure at Duke, that he was, willing to work hard. That was certainly a major selling point. And perhaps, there was some perhaps Jason Tatum's potential was perhaps being masked a little bit at Duke, where they ran a really ISO-heavy system based around Kennard and Grayson Allen. And maybe it was a little bit more difficult for Jason Tatum's passing ability and ability to play within sort of a motion offense. Maybe that was being obscured.
Feels like us and almost the rest of the world all missed out on Tatum. Kevin O'Connor didn't, I guess, but almost everyone else did.
Yeah, I think even Sam Vecini had Tatum second on his board, and he was critical of the trade just because he was so high on Markelle. I soured on him a little bit before the draft, but oh well.
I mean, he doesn't shoot threes. He takes a lot of contested long twos. Why would you want that?
He doesn't get easy shots, which bothers me, and lacked sort of burst, I wanted to say. I was arguing with Kungu about this before the draft. But anyway, one thing you cannot argue about is staying warm during winter being a good thing. And the way to do that is through Action Heat. They make the world's best heated clothing. That's right, heatable clothing powered by rechargeable batteries. They're the perfect solution to keep you toasty and warm even in the most frigid winter weather coming basically this week to the Northeast. They're engineered to safely and effectively deliver heat via heating panels similar to a heated car seat. You can even recharge your phone or any other gadget while you're wearing them. Didn't think you need it? Well, you do, because it's perfect for friends, family, anyone on your holiday gifts list. Available in men's and women's styles. You can get heated products that fit everyone's budget. We got a special offer just for our listeners. Get 15% off your entire order when you go to action-heat.com. Use the promo code Celtics or go to action-heat.com/Celtics. We have one more sponsor here. It's DraftKings.com. There's so many ways to play. You can choose from public contests with huge cash prizes or private contests where you compete against your friends. The best part, you get to draft a new team each day, and that's arguably the best part. Oh, wait, except you get to win cash while doing it. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com to play free with your first deposit for your share of $10,000 in total prizes. Don't wait. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com now to choose your lineup, and you can seriously cash in. There's a minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, the second major thing that the Celtics did this offseason, we're not going to have time to talk about the Avery Bradley trade.
Oh, well, another time.
This one, definitely more controversial. This one widely ripped by the national media. People celebrating. The Celtics made a bad trade, trading Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic, and the Brooklyn pick for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie has fit into the system wonderfully. His defense has improved. I don't think it's totally been a revelation. He's still dying on screens to me, but I think the Celtics should be pleased with the steps that he's taken at this point. Sam Sheehan was ready to call this one in favor of the Celtics 2 months ago. To me, this one's still maybe a little bit up in the air. I still think that there's lots of ways that this could go. How do you feel about the Celtics' second major move of the offseason?
I think, first of all, it's gone about as well as it could have so far from the Celtics' point of view. If we look at it all, Kyrie, as you said, has fit in about as well as you could ever hope he would. The team is as good as they've been since the heyday of the Kevin Garnett era already. The Nets are playing well enough that it doesn't look like they're going to be a top 5 pick unless they get very lucky in the lottery. I guess the Cavs would be getting lucky in the lottery, or whoever they trade the pick to. Isaiah Thomas is hurt. Jay Crowder's not fitting in. Ante Zizic isn't getting off the bench. It's incredible. But one thing to keep in mind, we keep declaring victory on these trades that Ainge is making. Both times, the main player that goes the other way, Markelle Fultz and Isaiah Thomas, both injured so far all season long. Imagine if the Cavs had a healthy Isaiah, which they are going to have by the playoffs. That team is going to be way better than they are right now. That's fine with me, by the way. Losing Isaiah for Kyrie is no problem. The only thing I mourned in this deal was the Brooklyn pick. Brooklyn's playing well enough that it makes me feel pretty good about this now. I was pretty convinced Brooklyn was going to be a top 4 bad team, probably even top 3. But the D'Angelo Russell trade has helped. They are growing up. They just traded for Jahlil Okafor, which I think is probably going to help them a bit too. The bad teams in the NBA are worse than they are. The absolute worst teams are worse. The Hawks are worse. I think the Lakers are worse. There's a bunch of other teams too you can look at that are just worse than the Nets. So probably Danny Ainge is just going to dance through the raindrops on this one too. But I think it's a little early. I agree with you to declare total victory. But Kyrie has been better than expected. Again, like Tatum. And he's only 25. This is an incredible move. Again, Danny Ainge, I guess, is just the best GM in basketball. I thought this was a terrible deal at the time. I know you did too. We thought this Brooklyn pick was way too much to give up. I thought they were just going to give up a normal first-round pick. That would have been fine with me. The Brooklyn pick is so valuable, but now it doesn't seem as valuable.
We've heard through different outlets and rumors that the Celtics thought that this Brooklyn pick was going to wind up 5 through 9. And I was a little incredulous when I heard that. I thought, maybe things go poorly. It happens, And the Brooklyn Nets, they've lost Jeremy Lin. They've lost D'Angelo Russell. I think they picked up Jahlil Okafor. I don't think that's going to help them at all. But, the system that they have in place, it's working for them right now. They just have crappy players. But the system's good and the players are buying in. So, Brooklyn's been better than expected. And I wonder, like, how much of this is, luck? How much of this is, like, true foresight that the Celtics possess?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I know you keep bringing up luck, and there's clearly some luck involved in all of this. There has to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, Ainge's track record is just too long. He's got a resume at this point. He wins almost every deal he makes, and it's been going on for a good 15 years at this point, right? He's been doing it forever. He kind of always wins the deals. He drafts better than the average GM by a lot.
Yep.
Now, he's not perfect. Nobody is. He certainly has his misses also. But he's also willing to – this is one of my favorite things about him. And actually, by the way, the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, they're so confident in their jobs. They have such a high level of job security. They're willing to bet on themselves and on the future. They're willing to make mistakes to be great. And Ainge trading down from number 1 was doing that exact thing. It would have been easy not to trade for Kyrie here. Keep the Brooklyn pick. Bank Isaiah for one more year. You could argue, well, we're going to be about the same, and this is why we get the Brooklyn pick. It makes perfect sense. I would have argued that. In fact, I'm sure I did argue that on this show. But right now, it sure looks like the brilliant move. Instead of having Isaiah, who is probably either going to leave or be very upset with the deal he gets or whatever it would have been in a year, you have Kyrie. You're almost certainly going to re-sign him. He's younger. He's better. He's now playing defense. I mean, this guy is going to get MVP votes. He's going to finish in the top. He's going to finish in the top 10 of the MVP vote this year. I'm certain, right? He's going to make the All-Star team. He's probably going to finish third team All-NBA. I mean, this is an unbelievable leap for Kyrie. Where I know everyone always saw the talent before, but what we didn't see was him putting it all together. And part of that is probably just because he was giving LeBron room because it was LeBron's team, and now Kyrie really, and maybe until Gordon Hayward comes back, we'll see what happens then. But right now, it's Kyrie's team. The fourth quarter, if the game's close, he knows it's on him, and boy, has he stepped up repeatedly. Oh, I know he missed that three-pointer in San Antonio, but my goodness, Kyrie has won a lot of games for this team. And by the way, he also got them back in the San Antonio game as well. And there's no reason to believe he's not going to keep doing that, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. He hit one of the most clutch threes of all time in Game 7 against the Warriors 2 years ago. This is a guy you can really bank on. Mm-hmm. This team is unbelievable, and it's because Ainge has put it together. I know that's part of that is Brad Stevens, but Ainge hired Brad Stevens too. It's all Ainge's blueprint. And yes, there's been luck, I'm sure, all along the way, but also he's made a lot of good decisions, and he continues to. And it's an awesome thing to watch.
This trade was also kind of about pushing the timeline up a little bit. Even though Kyrie is a younger player, it seems less about building around, the teenagers and more about going for it, in the window of maybe the next 5 years or something like that before, Kyrie really ages out of his prime. Although I do expect him to be good, maybe into his early 30s, I would think. I think that was part of the calculation for me, and part of why I did not like this trade at first, because you have the Warriors, who are going to be dominant in this league for another couple of years. Houston's looking amazing if they get LeBron James, which apparently rival executives are concerned about. I mean, we're talking about another super team there. I'm also terrified of LeBron, going to Philly. It's maybe not the best time to put the foot on the gas. So I think that's another thing to consider when we're evaluating this deal. So, I do think it's maybe a little bit too early to call with just that. Go ahead.
Having said that, though, 5 years from now, the Warriors are not going to be a dominant team anymore, almost certainly, right? And neither will the Rockets. Those guys, Philly maybe, but Kyrie will be 30 years old and still in his prime. And and Jason Tatum will be entering his prime, and Jaylen Brown will be entering his prime, and the LA Kings player will be entering his prime. Well, but maybe a year or two out of that, actually. But that's another player who's going to be potentially really, really good if we get lucky and get a top 5 pick in this coming draft, maybe franchise level good. And you're talking amazing things. So there's that, first of all. It's maybe like a have your cake and eat it too thing for Ainge and the Celtics. But also, I think the Kyrie thing was also partially motivated by Gordon Hayward. So you sign Hayward, you got Al Horford. You're just going to twiddle your thumbs and spin your wheels for a few years, waiting for everyone to get bad. You just made the 2 biggest signings in history for your franchise. You've got this great coach. You actually have a good team. So this is a way to sort of do both, right? He did keep, in some ways you could argue, he sort of kept the Nets pick around by making the Tatum deal. Yep. He was going to take Tatum anyway, and he got to trade the Nets pick and keep the same value for it, which is roughly what I think he got in the LA Kings pick. Yep. So that's kind of amazing. I wish we had the Brooklyn pick still. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I still think it's going to hurt if it's anywhere in the top 5. It's really going to hurt.
Sure. And even if it's 8 or 9, I mean, if you're looking at this draft, that's looking tremendously valuable. There's so many really, really good bigs. 1 or 2 of them are going to fall below that top 5. It's really intriguing guards as well, and a few wings too. I mean, I think the number 8 pick in this draft or something like that is going to be super valuable. It's still definitely a major asset to give up, even though the Nets look a little bit better. But I think when we're looking at this, it's the Celtics got the best player, almost certainly in this deal, and it's going to vault the Celtics into a prolonged contention status. And I think that's going to start as early as next year, maybe this year if Gordon Hayward comes back. We'll see about that. Although those Warriors look pretty good, but hey, there's always a possibility for an injury to open up the window for lots of other teams. Final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
I mean, my only final thought is, how good is this team going to be in a year or two? Gordon Hayward will still be on the team and looking good, hopefully fully recovered, I assume, from his injury. Kyrie will still be in his prime. Horford will be a little bit older, but I think his skill set will enable him to still be a distributor and do more or less what he's doing now, give or take. But Tatum will be a year or 2 older. Jaylen Brown will be a year or 2 older. Tatum growing up seems like he could just become the best player on the team. Like, that could just happen. Mm-hmm. And if he's the best player on the team, this team's going to scare everybody in the league, including the Warriors.
Yep.
So, 2 years from now, the Celtics might just win the title, because if Tatum takes that level of leap, which it is within him to do, I don't know if it's going to happen by any means, but there's no reason to believe it isn't based on what we've seen so far. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 5 player, but top 15, absolutely. Knocking around the top 10, I think so. I think he's got that level ceiling in him. Jaylen Brown, I'm much more bearish on, but still, that guy can certainly be an above-average starting 2 guard in this league. That's pretty good. So this team still has a lot of room to grow, which is easy to forget because they're so good right now.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. All right, let's wrap things up here. That was Jonathan Levy joining us once again. Use our coupon codes Celtics on action-heat.com and CLNS at DraftKings.com. We'll be back talking more about these upcoming games here. You can find us on YouTube, right? If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to CLNS Media, hit that thumbs up button as well. That helps us out. If you prefer to listen to us on the go, check us out at the Boston Celtics newsfeed, and you can follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. Once again, I want to thank Jonathan Levy for rejoining us on Celtics Roundtable. We always love having him around, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.